We're here in Russia, and you had this conference this morning about oil and gas. After the accident in Fukushima and Germany deciding to come out of nuclear, are we entering a golden age for gas?
This is the scenario which we have just released about a week ago. The golden age of gas certainly is much more coming to reality because of the Fukushima nuclear incident. Because certainly when the nuclear power cannot be deployed as much as we had expected before, alternative sources is necessary. And the gas is relative to coal much cleaner in terms of CO2 emission and pollution. So gas could be a good, important choice. Of course, renewable energy is another very important choice. Everybody's chasing renewables. But because of the nature of the volatility, and we need more the grid, so there's a certain, let's say, limitation of using renewables. You need backup, and backup is usually gas. And so as a whole, what would happen in the consequence of lower nuclear case is that the cost of electricity could be much higher in the future.
How high?
How high? Well, we are going to analyze it in our next World Energy Outlook, which will come in November, so you have to wait. But it is more costly, less sustainable, and less security.
Should we just get used to oil at $100 a barrel? Is that the new long term, and is that sustainable? What kind of impact do you see of high oil prices at the moment on the recovery?
Yes, if this level of price, $110, $20, continue through this year, the oil burden to the global economy would be as bad as 2008, when the global economy made a hard landing to the very serious recession. And it took a year to recover. And it is very difficult to judge how hard it could be, but we think the burden, and especially for the emerging economy like China, India, or Africa, could be harder. So this impact for the global economy is obvious, that we have to avoid as much as possible.
Where do you see the oil price by the end of the summer?
We are not predicting oil price because it's very difficult, because it's not only fundamentals which impact the price, geopolitical risks, speculation, weather, etc. And certainly nuclear is another interesting case, because some of the thermal plants need more oil. So it's very difficult to guess. But if the OPEC is not increasing its production, we think the demand in July, August could be much higher, and market is very tight, and then the stock of the OECD countries will decline. So this means the higher prices.
Do you think OPEC should hold an emergency meeting this summer then?
Well, we don't know. It's let's say, to increase production, they don't have to. I mean, because already many countries in OPEC are producing more than their quota. So quota is important political kind of balance within the OPEC, but what we need is more production.
And do you think the failure of OPEC last week, the failure of reaching an agreement, did that impact on the credibility of OPEC? Is at the end of OPEC?
Well, just ask this question to my good friend Mr. El Badri. I don't have any comment on that. But we are working closely with producers, because our stock release means to supplement or complement what producers will produce. So if we need to, let's say, if there's a gap in the market, we have to act. But actually, we are working closely and talking and consulting with major producers and OPEC to make this happen.
Maybe just one last question. We hear a lot about a possible energy deal being signed here during the St. Petersburg Forum. We have President Hu Jintao, who is in Russia at the moment, and we know there have been talks between gas producers and China. Are we expecting anything here at St. Petersburg Forum?
I don't know if it happens or not, but certainly with two heads of state are meeting, so I wish this deal will be made between them, because in our golden age of gas scenario, this is exactly what would happen in the future, and it is earlier the better, and because demand increase in China is significant, and supply potential of East Siberia or as far east of Russia is enormous for the gas. So certainly China needs a huge amount of gas in the future, and this deal is just quite logical and reasonable thing to see happen.
Great, thank you very much.
You're most welcome.